But I grew up in Louisiana. I grew up in a place called Butler's Quarters. So I was kind of bullied and teased all my life because Butler's Quarters was a place owned by a white doctor whose name was Butler. It was his place because he had had 6 children with my grandmother. And we lived in a big white house in Butler's Quarters. So that's where I grew up. So you can imagine in my all-black school, yes. But I had a praying grandmother. Y'all know that song, don't you? But anyway, my name is Sarah Richardson. And when I was asked to do this by Mother McNeely, that's what I call her because I tend to do whatever she asked me to do. At first I said no, but then I thought about it. And I told her that, I said, well, I can tell so many stories about systemic racism. Racism from black folks, white folks. What do you want me to tell? My whole life has been about racism. Even when I was teaching, I had black teachers to say that I got so many opportunities because of my skin color. I said, what you want me to do? Put some paint on my face? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be washed off. I mean, these are real things. I had people to say because my hair was long and I have freckles, that's why I was treated the way that I was. So sometimes when people think I talk sharp, my pastor told me once that I have a sharp tongue. I said, you just have deaf ears. You don't want to hear what I have to say when I come to tell you things that are wrong right now with the church. I mean, that's the kind of background I have. And so when I was asked about this topic of I've said it so much I can't even say it now, racism, y'all fill in the other part. I had to make sure that I really understood what Jason were asking me to talk about because I thought racism was just racism. But as I began to read about systemic racism, according to one article that I read, it said that that's the kind of racism that affects every fabric of society. And I thought about that, from the wealth, the employment, the criminal justice system, housing, surveillance, healthcare, and most importantly, education. And education is the area that I'm most interested in. I grew up in a household with 10 children, and my grandmother and my mother would always say, you're going to be the teacher, because I was the one who sat down with my siblings and helped them with their homework. I loved doing it, and I would get mad with them when they wouldn't want to do it. So they knew early on that I was going to be the teacher. But anyway, moved here to Gainesville after graduating from Southern University in Baton Rouge. My husband and I went to the same college. He came here at the University of Florida, and I followed him a year later when I graduated. We had 3 children. I got a job here at Duval, and I could tell you stories about that would take all night. Why they transferred me from Duval to Littlewood Elementary School. They wanted the best of the black teachers in the white schools, when there was a day when they counted how many blacks were actually in every school. You had to have a count of so many in the schools. And they weren't going to just put anybody. That's according to Dr. Rawls, and he was upset about that. And so was I, because I liked him. But anyway, we had 3 children, and I thought about one incident that I wanted to share with you. And this is why I was a teacher now, and my husband at the time was a probation officer. And my son brought his progress report home, and he had a C. Now, this is my gifted son that I know didn't have to study or anything. He just made the A's. And when he brought a C home in that class, we were concerned about it. He said, I don't know why she gave me a C. I'm like, you don't, okay. So we scheduled a conference. And the first thing that was unusual about that conference was that when we walked in together, the teacher said, oh, this is Mr. Richardson. I said, yeah, he got a daddy. I didn't make him by myself. But I said it. But anyway, we sat down to begin the conference, and the teacher said to me that he's doing fine. He's got a C in my class. He's not failing my class. I said, he's a Richardson, and Richardsons are not C students. Exactly. I said to her that he can do better because he's expected to do better. And she was a little surprised by that because, number one, she didn't think he had a dad, thought I was a single mom coming in to fuss about a grade. And my son clearly, as he sat there with us, There were assignments that he had not turned in because he was playing basketball and whatever, and he didn't do them. But she didn't know that. She had not asked. But I asked her, would that grade have been acceptable for the University of Florida professor's son? Would that C have been okay? Or for the president of the junior league that I just happened to have known had a child in her class as well. Those were A students. My son hung out with them all the time. They all made A's. And I soon found out that that was not the same expectation. So I understand what you all mean when you talk about teacher expectation. And I'm a teacher of almost 36 years in this county. So all too often, who the child is determines what will happen to that child in school. If the child is from a well-to-do family, I've seen it so often from teachers, and I love teachers. And I used to tell them about themselves all the time when I started training them for 14 years. Treat that child the way you would want someone to treat yours. That's all you have to do. And I promise you, when you walk away at the end of the day, you'll feel good about yourself because of the way that you treated every student at that school. But this particular situation, it involved a 5th grade black girl and a 5th grade white girl. The black girl was from the 5th Avenue area, single parent, low income housing. The white student was the daughter of a University of Florida professor. They were both upstairs, 5th grade. I was behavior resource specialist at the school. The girls were sent to my room for behavior issues. The administrator just happened to be in there when they came. Right away, the administrator, the voice tone, the consequences, the level of punishment for those two girls was not the same. I distinctly recall one particular, the way that she spoke to the black student. While she's talking, I'm looking at the white girl who's now crying. And I'm sure those tears were fearful because she's thinking, look how this child is being treated. My turn is coming next. But you know what happened? That administrator turned to the white student, patted that child on the hand and said, it's okay, come and walk with me, we'll talk about it. I wanted to smack her, and I do mean smack. But, I sat there and I noticed all of that. So the two of them left my room, and the African-American student stayed. We waited for about 30 minutes, thinking the administrator would return with the student. And when I found out that she wasn't, I went upstairs, I got the student, I brought her back to my classroom. I gave them both the disciplinary form to fill out, telling me why they were in my classroom, because they knew, because I had gone into all of the classrooms. We did a lot of proactive stuff. We didn't just wait until trouble started. But anyway, the girls sat there and they talked. I read what was on each of their forms. They both had done things that were wrong. They were able to apologize to each other. They were able to walk upstairs with me and apologize to the teacher and their classmates for the disruption. And that's basically how I treated all kids at the school. I'll never forget the day the secretary said to me, Sarah, she said, I really like the way you treat every child the same in this school. It matters not to you who they are. She said, I wish all the teachers did that. I said, you know what? I do too. It's a shame that teachers can't do that. And I love teachers. And I said at the school board once to Mr. Paulson, I shouldn't call his name, but I did. When I talked to him down there, I said, you were a union representative for years. I was a union member. You were the president. I said, you saved teachers that had no business in the classroom. I witnessed those kinds of teachers. There were teachers that should not have been there. There were administrators that should not be administrators. We have that good old boy system in this county, and it needs to stop. Because some of the people who are carrying the title of principal don't have the wisdom, knowledge, nor understanding to do that job and be effective. And our children are the ones who suffer. And you know what? The teachers watch what the administrators do and how they treat children, so then they begin to think that it's okay for them to do that too. But everybody knows me, from the pastor at my church to my good friend here that I've been knowing since I moved to Gainesville. I call it like it is. And what else can I say? I have children, now I have grandchildren who are going to be in this system. And I just truly believe that if you see something that's not right, you need to speak up about it. Whether you can make the change or not, you'd be surprised You got to put it in motion. I love teachers, so I don't want anyone to leave here tonight thinking I don't love teachers, because I did that for almost 36 years. But there are some that need to be weeded out because they have no business trying to teach our children. And those who are supportive and strong and caring, we need to encourage them and give them the materials, the support, and everything that they need. Okay? And by the way, I voted yes on that 1 cent sales tax because of Ms. McNeely, but I wanted to vote no, and I'm going to tell you why. Drive around the schools in Southeast and Northeast Gainesville. Go inside of them, and then walk around the ones Northwest and Southwest. It will make you want to puke.